Hello everybody, Walter here. Welcome to the 4th episode of my second Let's Play series for Oxygen Not Included. Now in the last episode we mostly focused on our ranches, expanding them and more than doubling our meat production, but it's still not really enough for the carnivore achievement, so once again this will be a focus for this episode, but there are also a decent number of other side projects I need to get started on, so this is going to be a somewhat mixed episode. Yeah, with that said, let's jump back into the game and have a look. And here we are. Now, as I said, last time we primarily built our incubation setup and the additional ranches here, which are still missing one key feature, and that is the handling of those laid eggs here, which I at the moment still need to remove manually, and that is starting to get rather tedious. So, to automate this, I am going to need for one a dupe, this wave here, with the mechatronics engineering skill, and as you can see, we're very close to getting that, so that is good. While I'm here, I might as well also distribute those skill points here. And the cook goes into tiddying, so we can empty pipes later on. Rancher does ranching stuff. So, skill is one part, and the second part are refined metals. And since the rock crusher wastes half of the iron ore, I'm going to put down a metal refinery. And since I don't have any plastic yet, the best cooling solution I can think of is using the snow here. So my first step at the moment is just extending those ladder and fire poles all the way to down here. And just a few minutes later, this is already looking much different, so we can now access all of this down here. We also have a good chunk more iron than before, since I got lucky with a draw, could print out 400 kilograms and made another 500 kilograms in the rock crusher. We're also done with the research, so now we can make some plastic. And next up is the conveyor receptacle. We are also now ready to get Nisbeth here our mechatronics engineering skill. And my two diggers can start on the whole construction branch in the skill tree. Okay. Now, let's get started on the refinery. So first things first, we need that refinery down here. Then I need a cooling pipe at the top there, and that can go up to this spot here. Then I'm just going to connect them like that. I will need a bottle drainer in this spot here, and then some tiles to keep the snow from falling too far down. Then a ladder, let's say here and here. That should be all I need. Down here, let's first have a look at the batteries. So 2 batteries and then a power transformer, some conductive wire, and then normal wire for the input. And all of this here needs to be put on some tiles. 36 for all of this construction here. And then we also need to do some more digging in this area here. Now, as you can see, we already are collecting the carbon dioxide down here since it's not cold enough to freeze that. So we'll have to dig a bit to the side to rectify that situation. And I can go up to this point here. So if I were to dig out like that, then I have a nice area for the carbon dioxide to solidify. Okay, that is starting to look pretty good. Now, let's have a look around what we can find at the bottom here. So for one, we have a geode here with gold, amalgam and diamond. That is going to be very useful. There is a geyser over here. Let's see. A second iron volcano. That is perfect. Oh, it's even pretty close to the refinery here. And it's also much closer to the base than the one all the way at the top there. So I think this will be one of the next geysers or volcanoes I'm going to work on. Yeah, that's all starting to shape up quite nicely. And I could also start on this layout at the top there, but I think I'm going to wait with that until I have my down here in place. And with a bit of additional digging, this is now fully functional. So for now, I'm going to use polluted water as the coolant from the former bathroom. I also have my cooling loop already submerged in the snow. And now all that's left is starting this up. So for now, let's just make 5 tons of iron. With slightly higher priority, obviously. Okay. Now, pretty soon we're going to also get started on steel. But for that, I still need to discover my 2 other ingredients. So let's get up here. The first one is refined carbon. And over here I might as well also get started on the ceramic. And the second one is lime, in this case from the eggshells. And once we have those, I can actually order up some steel. And yeah, with that, first let's actually get that out. And then we can also move this here and this here over. Now it's time to start planning out this setup here. So, for that, we are going to start with a single auto sweeper, since I don't want to build those out of mercury and I'm out of iron for the moment. Then this is where the whole thing will collect, and then it will just go straight over here. And in there, where we will have our conveyor chute. Also going to place another conveyor chute, let's say here for the moment, so we can then very easily get all of the meat automatically into our kitchen. From over here. Okay. Then I should also make sure my engineer here actually prioritizes building. So this here is actually done. I will also need power. So this will need power here, then I will need power there, and then I will need power here. And the same is true for the layer below. And this one here as well, although this one here will also need one more. Like this, I think. 2 and then 4, 2 and then 4. Yep, that would be the correct spot. And then this one here, I think, only needs the ones in the beginning. Okay, so then we are done with the research. So now we have the receptacle. This will become useful soon as well. And now next up on the research tree. Let's see. Might as well go for this one here. So this will give me the desalinator and then all of the medical buildings, so we can start on a little clinic if we have to. And I just got a bit more iron, so comes out at 25 plus and comes in at -7 or so. So that should be sufficient. And if the snow here gets too warm, it will just melt and get replaced from the top. And if the polluted water gets too warm, it will just exchange more heat with the snow and will speed this up. Oh, and it already showed quite the effect, so I should make sure my dupes can actually reach till this whole area over here. It's not overly necessary, but yeah, should keep that in mind. That is already quite the effect, I must say. Anyway, let's continue. So here we're going to need obviously a conveyor loader. And yeah, then we have 2 auto sweepers, 1 conveyor loader in the middle, and this will repeat itself just a few more times, at least once I have the iron. And that was the last auto sweeper over here, so we can now start setting this here up. What we need to do for the moment is just collect the critter eggs. And then they should automatically make their way all the way to over here. Okay, so don't need to worry about this from this point on anymore. Now, very soon I just checked in the achievements. We should get the Locavore achievement, so this is going to take a little bit more than 2 cycles. So it's time to get started over here. And for that, we are going to start down here by Well, first of all, just clearing out this area so we have some space to work with. And now it's time for a little refinement facility here, which together with the ranches and the yet to be integrated farms will form a production loop. And why am I out of wood? Wait a second. Did I exit? Yeah, I forgot to set this here to use the coal instead of the wood. Yeah, my bad there. How much do we have left? 300 kilograms. Okay, that should be enough for a while to keep the ice and with that oxygen flowing. And I also forgot to set this here for maybe 8. Oh, wait, actually 7. I won't be able to actually handle 8 with the setup I have. But we have some more food waiting in there, and yeah. Now we really need to get this here set up. So for that, we are going to start with an infinite storage for ethanol, which will be in this chamber. Then the 3 corner tiles, the airlocks. Then we need a liquid pump and a vent. The 2 bridges. Let's actually make them out of ceramic or out of granite. Not ceramic. So then, this is the basic connections here. Then we have a bottle filler on top, together with a bottle drainer. A bit higher than that, we have a liquid valve that gets fed from the top via a couple bridges going to a pipe there. And then, since this is all just ethanol, I don't have to worry about the temperature, so I can use normal pipes here. Goes down, then connecting here to force the direction. Then this will be the input from the bottom, and then I also need to get the output to the top here and then to here and then further up. Can't build the liquid meter yet since I don't have any plastic though. Okay, so this is then the input from below, which will come through the floor. And then we need that floor. And a bit of a ceiling at the top. And a wall with a pneumatic door. Entombed. Oh. So, as you can see, in the meantime, I've continued my chute all the way up to see what's over here. A polluted water vent. A good source of water, even if it's full of germs. I'm definitely going to make use of that. So, now let's see. What do we have? Just another seed over there. Nothing really useful though. Could really do with some more pemmican, but whatever. Anyway, we still need to add a few things. For one, we need an ethanol distiller down here. And a rock crusher up there. Then under shipping, I need 2 auto sweepers. A receptacle. Then an inverted conveyor loader here and here, and a normal one there. Then a chute up there. I will also need, under ventilation, a gas pump right in this spot. And then an atmo sensor with some automation wire. We also need to be able to reach everything. Maybe I wouldn't want to use the wood for that. No. Let's just make sure we can reach all of this here from the back for the moment. Then, oh wait, we might also want to dig that out and maybe dig that out. And then just put one snow tile up there. So that should make all of this here reachable. So we are still missing a few key ingredients, like some more piping. So this will go towards the left. We'll go through a heat exchanger and then return over here. Okay, that is looking good. Then over here, we still need the power. So let's see. So this is the power connection for those. Then this goes down there. And these here will be actually directly on a heavy conductive wire grid. So let's see, I can connect them like that. And I'm out of iron, so let's have a quick look. And okay, definitely overestimated the cooling potential of this here. And we really need to deal with this here. And this means we also likely have some more stuff up here. As I suspected. Yeah, okay. That's not too bad, actually. But I was looking at the refinery. So, down here. We should be able to make, maybe, it would be nice to have 2 tons of the steel, but we're very low on the lime. Maybe we can print out something if we're getting lucky. I should potentially also make a bit more iron, just to be on the safe side there. Okay. And yeah, I think now we just need to wait a little bit until we have this here built. And I also suspect that we are very soon going to get our Locavore achievement. So the ethanol storage is already in place, so I can close off the walls here and set the bottle drainer to ethanol, highest priority, enable auto bottle, and that should make sure that all the ethanol from over here and over there later on will make its way to storage. Although I should make sure I'm not creating a loop here with the bottle filler, so let's disconnect that for a moment. While I'm looking at it, I might as well put in a couple bridges here and add my miscellaneous liquids pipe that will basically go through all of the filters and basically filter out all of the materials I'm going to put in there at some point. Okay. Now, let's have a look over there. This is all looking good. So 7 in there, 6 in there. And the next few are also coming at some point, so this is all ramping up. I think at this point I can start taming the behemoths and also feeding them. I should have a good amount of plum squash in reserve. Yep, that is looking good. Now, we are pretty soon going to get the missing achievements, so I can start placing some farm tiles and some hydroponic farms at the bottom there. Now, these at the top require a solid for fertilization, so I need 2 receptacles, and they will get their material from over here. And that is the achievement I was waiting for. Locavore have duplicants consume 400,000 kilocalories of food without planting any seeds in blender boxes, farm tiles, or hydroponic farms. And with that out of the way, we can now fully concentrate on the carnivore achievement. So, let's continue over here. So, these need liquids. So, just going to run a pipe through here. And then from there on, I'm going with some insulated pipes. And now with the farms in place, it's time to set these here at the top to pike apple bushes. And the ones at the bottom to plum squash. And I only have 8 of those, which means I can't really go up to 3 critters here. And for the moment, let's just have 1 in there, and then which one is the older one? Yeah, let's get rid of this one for the moment, since I'm pretty much running out of pemmican, and I really need to get my dupes further fed with meat or pemmican, or I'm running into major issues with the carnivore achievement. I also apparently forgot about the power, so let's worry about that. We need to go down there and then power it like that, and prioritize all of this here. Okay, research is also advancing, and we have steel coming in. So let's put that in the overview. But I suspect we are out of lime already. Yep, unfortunately that is the case, so we won't likely be able to tame any volcano today. Bit unfortunate there. So meat is coming, and yeah, I will continue over there once I have this all figured out over here. And I finally noticed that I accidentally used mercury for those 3 conveyor loaders here, so that has been rectified, but since I'm out of iron, I can't really replace them with the correct material for the moment. Okay, now, next topic, food, or more precisely, chemical. I'm still pretty low, and this is just enough for 3 cycles, so we need more calories. And for those, we have 1 behemoth here. And another behemoth over here. Now, I would prefer to have them at least have laid the eggs, but I'm pretty much out of options if I want to get the carnivore achievement. So I need to actually make my way to them. And get their calories. And the same is true over here. Let's see if I work my way down there and then up here. I should be able to get access to this pretty quickly. Like that. And then I also have some plum squash plants, although I don't really need those anymore. Same down here. And there's also a lot of stuff all over the place, it appears. But for the most part, at least at the moment, I'm only really interested in the calories. And we seem to be in luck, because when I was making the order to relocate this meat here, and also this meat, which someone let fall, since they decided to take a break while carrying that, I noticed that there is just the same biome right next to it, and over here is another behemoth. So, yeah, we can just dig down here and get even more calories into our colony. That is going to be really, really useful. Let's just dig out a little bit more there while we're there, and yeah, that hopefully should keep us running until we have either the carnivore achievement or at least this here properly ramped up. And there is more food in there. That's nice. Now, in the meantime, I also was able to print out a so-called lump lead, which belongs to the prehistoric planet pack. And yeah, to turn that actually into food, and this is actually a lot of food in there, we will need not the Radbolt containment, which I'm currently working on, but the smoker. So let's redirect our research to that one. And then we have a lot of emergency meat in there. So that should get us going all the way to where we need to go. Okay, so that means that once the digging is done, we can concentrate on setting up our drowning chamber, since this is also getting tedious to deal with those. Now, we don't need the pineapple bushes on the outside anymore, so we can deal with this. And I need to disable the harvesting actually for these, so my dupes don't steal the food for those blocks in here. I also don't need to feed them anymore. For the same reason. The same is actually true for the behemoth down there. Now for the moment I've disconnected the plum squash plants at the back here, and I'm only feeding the four at the front, since only those are needed for the behemoth there. Okay, so anyway, we don't need this here anymore, so I can straighten this part out. And then I can also clear out all of this here, and we should also start on the next ranch. Which means I can start clearing out the area at the bottom here. And with that we can put in a proper floor here. With some walls. And airflow tiles. And the pneumatic doors on each side. And then in the middle. But in this case we only need 8 of those hydroponic farm tiles. And I'm also going to copy pretty much everything down except for the feeder. Another one over here. And this one there, and that will require a little bit of conveyor area. Also going to make this over there. And also the power for this one there. Then we can also get rid of this here. And we can also get rid of these there. And then we need pipes for the ethanol. Although for the moment I'm not going to connect that yet. Then, next up, over here. We need to heat this up until the mercury here actually melts, which requires a space heater, which needs to get powered. We're also going to add a temp shift plate out of granite here, so it exchanges the heat a bit more efficiently into the tiles. Then all of those snow tiles here will have to be replaced now with normal tiles, since this is going to get warm. And I don't want this to accidentally melt away. Entrance down there. This is starting to look pretty good. And now I might as well also dig a little bit further to get even more distance to all of the cooling that is hidden inside of those tiles here. So this here actually shows some proper effect. Might even consider putting in some insulated tiles, but for now, let's see what we can do over here with just this space heater in place. And it took only 2.5 cycles to properly heat this up, but now we are there. I also reconsidered, I am not going to use ethanol layered on top of the mercury, I'm just going to completely fill this here with mercury, so we should have a decent amount up here. Let's see, this is about 1 ton. 2 tons. 3 tons. And with that we should have about 4 tons and a bit beyond that with what is already in there. So that should make sure this is completely filled up, and whatever overflows will freeze at the bottom there or can be mopped up later. I am also currently mopping all of the debris up, since that is just in the way and might cool this beyond the freezing point. And yeah, now it's just waiting until the materials are in there and this is properly filled up. Now, in the meantime, we have a few things to do. For one, research has, well, advanced, so we can now put down a few buildings. For one, a spice grinder, right there. Let's go with the cinnabar ore. And a smoker. And that smoker, where am I going to place that? Yeah, let's place it over there. Doesn't really matter much. I'm only going to use it for the lumplet and for nothing else. Good. Then we also have some skill points. So for basically every dupe even. So my 2 diggers get the improved construction 2. My researcher gets improved carry. My doctor gets started on doctoring. My decorator gets started on decorating. My cook can finally plumb. My mechatronics engineer, not sure actually. I'm going to keep it for now. And then my farmer gets improved farming too and is pretty much at the limit of what he can handle at the moment. Okay, have to be careful with that. So then we also managed to print out some peat, that is nice. We also have a sunbug egg and... oh, we're very low on tallow. We should have one over here. Let's attack that one. And I should really get started on mopping up this part here. I already lost one of the 2 compound trees here, likely due to drowning, and that I am not a fan of. I really need more nectar. And I also need more of those tallow. I might want to just dig up here. It should give me access to this part there. Let's keep that there. I don't want to dig into the mercury yet. And then I can dig over there, and there's a bigger tub in there, so we can get rid of that one here. It's elderly anyway. So that is also good. Then this one here can go all the way to the top there. And that's the end of that story here, I guess. And then we will have to worry about taming all of this here properly. We have another skill point. Let's check. for our doctor. Okay, let's continue with the doctoring. Doesn't matter too much, I guess. And what do we have here? Mercury. And even more mercury. No idea where that came from. But it's slightly bit annoying, I would say. There's even more mercury up there. And we have some liquid carbon dioxide in there already. And we have finally iron, so I can put in the missing conveyor loaders now. Let's rotate it around. Then we have another one and another one there. Okay, I'll worry about the various things in a bit, but we can now also more or less finish with the setup here. So I need a loader and I need a sweeper. And that can handle all of this here. And someone coming by and dealing with this soon? Hope so. So I still need power for those two. Now let's connect them like that. And yeah, that is all starting to take shape quite nicely. And then all that's left for this here to work properly is setting this here to collect all edibles. And yeah, with that, all of the meat will make its way towards the kitchen. Now I think at this point this is heated up enough, so I don't need the space heater for the moment. I'm going to keep it in place in case this here cools down, but for the moment I think it's safe. I can also set up the storage bin to collect all of the sublimators. And under organics, the slime. High priority, and that should be sufficient for my needs right now. Okay, so cubes are still building all of this here, so that is also looking good. This is still being built, but not overly complicated right now. I should probably set this here for the behemoth patties though. So the idea is pretty simple. Oh, let's actually first have a look at what we can print out. Some more ethanol, why not? I just noticed I never inspected that one, so that is also now done. So, busy. How does this work? Well, let's start with the behemoths. The behemoths produce those behemoth patty. Those over here get turned into phosphorite and clay. The phosphorite is then used to fertilize the pike apples. Those are eaten by the phloxes. The phloxes are sheared for wood. The wood is turned into ethanol. The ethanol then is used to irrigate the plum squash plants, and those are then eaten by the behemoth. And all of this is actually a positive loop, so you are actually getting more out of this than you are putting in. So fully sustainable once you have everything properly set up. Now, at the moment it's not balanced. I need actually 5 behemoths, but I am still working on getting the ethanol production up, and until I have that, I'm not going to bother with the behemoths overly much. Now, having said all of that, we also are done with the research for the bioengineering, so if we go further down, I can continue with the Radbolt containment I stopped earlier. And yeah, next up on again is making some plastic, and for that I need nectar. So let's first have a look if we can't find a good source for that. Preferably one that's not in the void of space. And that is looking good. Actually. Anything else? Not really. Yeah, let's go for this one here. So first of all, I'm going to need a pneumatic door right there. So the shine bug remains in there. And I can dig that out. I can set these here to harvest. And I can also start collecting all of those carved lumen quartzes here to produce light. So those bomber trees here produce even more nectar than just with the shine bug. Because the amount of nectar production is directly proportional to the received light, at least until we reach, I believe it's 10,000 lux. So a very bright light. And looking at it, might actually be a good idea to get rid of this one here, since this will get the same amount of arches and is closer to the light source there. Now, in the meantime, there likely have some changes occurred. Yeah, over here, this is now fully opened up, so let's put that in place. So we are again using this here for our cooling. Then, let's see. Anything over here? Not right now. Then down there. Let's see. Yeah, we are done with iron. And yeah, that's not enough. I need more. Let's say another 2 tons. Yeah, let's go for 2 tons. Then over here, we're going to put in a polymer press. So first we need a floor. Then on top of that, we will put our polymer press. Then that will need a bottle drainer. And a gas pipe to the side for the carbon dioxide produced. That will directly solidify here. And then finally we need some power. Just power from over there and there. And then a bridge here, obviously not out of steel. And yeah, that should be all I need to get some plastic. In case you didn't know, there are currently 3 liquids for plastic production. One is petroleum, then we have nectar, and then from the prehistoric planet pack, I believe it's called amber or something like that. Yeah, now for the research. We're done with the rat bolt containment, and next up on the agenda, I think, is the glass forge. And here comes the first bit of plastic on this colony here. So very nice to see that. Let's just put that in our overview while we're there. And yeah, I'm just going to continue with that until I have enough plastic to, well, make a few buildings. In the meantime, we also got an achievement, which is kind of a surprise. So let's see what this is about. Good egg. Hatch a new critter morph from an egg. That likely was a sunshine bug. Good. Then we also have a printable. So let's check what we can see here. Oh, super. Some lime for steel production. Definitely going to go for that. And with that, we are also definitely going to start taming this iron volcano here in the next episode. Yeah, I think this is a good spot to stop with this episode here. And in the next episode, as I said, we're going to work on some more advanced stuff than just food production. And with that, all that's left for me to say is that I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, and comment if you did so. It really helps with the algorithm. And with that, I wish you a nice day. And well, see you.